Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. You search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Make sure you check out all the shows here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. This is A to Z. I've hit hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Davis and Tanitra Batiste. I just told you about our Braves postcast, Grant McCauley and others, as well. Locked On Falcons and Locked On Hawks. All of us putting together a great lineup for you guys. So continue the love and support. We're over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube already. We appreciate you guys following there and watching this podcast as well as listening to it wherever you get your podcast. This segment of the show brought to you by our friends at BetOnline.net as we turn our attention back to the Atlanta Falcons. And, you know, they put the pads on yesterday. We're in full swing of training camp. You're going to work towards next week. There's going to be a game played at some point in time. I do want to spend a quick moment here talking about Deion Jones because this situation is ever developing, and I'm not sure what the end state here is. At least I would probably have a different philosophy of this than at least what it seems like the Falcons are approaching it with. Now, the baseline here is that he's on the physically unable to perform list to start the season. He had shoulder surgery in the offseason. I remember hearing when he had shoulder surgery, it seemed like it caught a lot of us by surprise. We didn't know he needed shoulder surgery. Nobody said anything about it until after it had happened. So that's step number one. Because if the team had known about it, they would have let the media know about it. That's, there's no reason for them not to, given how poorly he played. It's one of those things where the team, he was hurt for a lot of part of the year. So he wasn't 100%. He was going out there gutting it out and everything else. Well, it feels like the team didn't know he needed shoulder surgery, did it anyway, and here we go. Clearly, from the very forefront, there is now, after a guy who went to the Pro Bowl here in Atlanta after his rookie year, and looked like he was going to be one of the more consistent linebackers in the league and an excellent pass coverage linebacker, has turned into a soup sandwich and just a player who looked in many places last year like he didn't give a rip and didn't want to play. And the tape shows that. His effort was awful. This wasn't about talent. This was about effort last year. And there's plenty of video out there on the internet if you'd like to find it and see how bad his effort was last year. And so the Falcons have immediately tried to trade him. This offseason, there was, a lot of talk about him getting traded and looking for teams who wanted to take him. You thought there was a little bit of momentum for it to happen, and it felt like it was going to happen. The reports were out there that it was going to happen, and lo and behold, it didn't happen. Why? Because a lot of people looked at the same tape of Deion Jones that you guys can look at on the internet and go, this guy doesn't want to play football. What am I going to give anything away for it on the hopes that all of a sudden he comes here and wants to play football? Look, there's a certain subset of coaches out there who believe that they can change anything about a player. They'll go look at the best tape that he has on film and go, I can get that player back. In fact, I can make that player better. Every coach does that. Every coach can look at film on a guy and go, I can make that player better, or that player can't get better. They make those decisions in an instant. It's just natural. It's what coaches do. And so nobody wanted Deion Jones. And so the Falcons had to keep him, and they kept him quiet. And lo and behold, there was talk of maybe them cutting him, this, that, and the other. So he starts camp on the PUP list, and after being put on the PUP list, it was a little bit quiet. Arthur Smith did address the fact that, he's on the PUP list, and he should have a better picture at some point in time of where he is later on this week. He said that last week in camp before the pads came on. Well, yesterday, Terry Fontenot addressed it, and I will tell you what he said here in a moment. But first, a word from our friends at BetOnline.net. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your sports betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events. It is the number one online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league. Of course, you got MLB going on right now, but with football season coming up, you get everything NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they've got you covered with all of it. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, back to Terry Fontenot and what he said yesterday when asked about Deion Jones. Now, there's a couple of things here. Kevin Knight of the Falcoholic tweeted out this. Says, Falcons Terry Fontenot on Deion Jones' future with the team. We're not really going to get into it. We're going to do what's best for the long-term future of the team at every position with every player. Okay. We're not really going to get into it is not a ringing endorsement of anything. I mean, you don't make anybody feel comfortable with that statement. Things aren't going well when you say we're not going to get into it. Let's just, example, you're having trouble with your car and your friend goes, hey, what's going on with your vehicle? We're not going to get into it. Doesn't mean it's fixed, because if it's fixed, you'd say it's fixed. We're not going to get into it. That means there's nothing but trouble ahead. You know, if you and your girlfriend or your spouse or whatever it is, you know, you're on the rocks and you go into couples therapy and you tell your parents about it and they know you're in therapy. And, oh, how things going on the home front? We're not going to get into it. Doesn't mean therapy is going well. Doesn't mean that you guys have solved all the problems. All it means is that there's bad times coming ahead. Now, they try to caveat that, and here's a little bit more, and this is from D'Orlando Ledbetter in the AJC. You know, he says, you can ask that question about any player on the roster right now, and we'd answer it the same way. We're always trying to build the roster in the right way with every decision we make. It's about the betterment of the team as a whole. With any player, we have 90 players on this roster. You ask that question, we'd answer it in the same way. Right. That's a nice, exit. Stage right. But according to Fontenot, he says, quote, well, we haven't put a timetable on his return yet. He's working with the trainers and getting himself ready. When he is, he'll come out and compete. Now, my friend Jeff Schultz of The Athletic tweeted yesterday that the Falcons have failed in attempts at this point to trade linebacker Deion Jones and have decided not to cut him. This is according to a source. They believe he won't be a distraction to the team and the salary cap savings are minimal. The team continues to monitor Jones' attitude and rehab from shoulder surgery. If you have to monitor attitudes of people in your organization, they're on the way out. Like, it doesn't... There are very few circumstances I can think of in my professional career in many different fields where I can look at a situation and see somebody on attitude sort of monitoring where you see them go, yeah, it turns all around. Like, obviously, it's turned around 100%. It's all worked out. Like, nah, that ain't happening. I don't know why you're going to monitor. And here's the thing, and this is my belief, and I've done this in the military throughout my entire career. With folks who don't want to be around, I just get rid of them. I don't need the headache. I don't need to waste the energy and the involvement. In fact, monitoring attitudes, it takes time away from what I really need to be doing. Monitoring attitudes takes time away from coaches and coaching, game preparation and everything else, because I got to worry about what one person is doing. To me, that is automatically a distraction. If you are on attitude adjustment watch, you are a distraction. You shouldn't need to, if you got guys in your locker room who got bad attitudes, get rid of them. What are you waiting for? If there's no compensation out there, of course he's going to get picked up by somebody for nothing. He has a Pro Bowl on his resume. He's going to get picked up by somebody because it costs them nothing and they have to pay him nothing and you're paying him a ton of money. I get it. But cut your losses. What do I always say in the sports world about a bad investment? When you make a bad investment, you don't double down by holding on to it. Cut bait and get the hell out. I'm not sure what the Falcons hope to gain from this experiment with Deion Jones at this point in time, but in reality, it's not going to net much for them. And my guess is that Jones is cut at some point, let's say, before week 6. I'd be shocked if it works out in any other direction. If he's not cut, he's being benched and not playing. All right, coming up next, more fallout from the Deshaun Watson punishment as well. Live Golf, my new favorite organization in sports. I'll tell you why. Next, it's A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. I'll be right back.